Have you ever killed someone because of a video game? Probably not. And I think starting off with this distinction will help my purpose to explain what I'm trying to tell you. I quote, as a result of a 15-year study of consistently disturbing findings about the violent content of children's programs, the Surgeon General's Scientific Advisory Committee on Television and Social Behavior was formed in 1969 to assess the impact of violence on the attitudes, values, and behavior of children. Um, the resulting report and follow-up report in 1982 by the National Institute of Mental Health identified these major effects of seeing violence on television. Number one, children may become less sensitive to the pain and suffering of others. Number two, children may be more fearful about the world around them. Number three, children may be more likely to behave in aggressive or harmful ways toward others. Um, Though violent entertainment doesn't directly cause someone necessarily, especially children, it doesn't directly cause them to inflict violence upon others. There is a direct correlation and causation between kids who are exposed to violence and those who are more prone to violent behavior later in life. Um, just as a preview, I am not saying that violent entertainment automatically causes someone to hurt another person. Um, I personally enjoy certain violence in video games and movies, mostly superhero movies, where you're able to see entire cities break apart at the hands of heroes and villains. And I have never committed a violent act against another person outside of like sports in high school. I'd really like to drive the point home that just because someone watches something violent definitely does not make them automatically an evil or violent person. Um, not everyone shows this. This is not 100%. This is there are definite studies showing that there is a causation, but this isn't 100% of the population. Teens and young adults that watch more than a certain amount of TV every day are twice as likely to commit an act of violence. This doesn't mean that everyone watches this amount of TV is going to kill someone. Um, I quote, the new study, published in 29 March issue of Science, fills an important gap by addressing TV viewing during adolescence and controlling for confounding factors. Psychologist Jeffrey Johnson of Columbia University in New York City and colleagues used information on TV viewing habits of 707 14 and 22-year-olds who participated in an earlier study. They quizzed the same people and their mothers about violent behaviors, even after making statistical allowances for factors such as psychiatric disorders, economic status, and prior violent acts. They found that those who watched 1 to 3 hours of TV per day were 60% more likely to get in a serious fight, threaten someone, or use a weapon to commit a crime than those who watched less than an hour a day. More than 3 hours of TV more than doubled the risk. I know what you're thinking. What if someone is already predisposed to do something violent and there's no way of knowing if these numbers work for the whole population? Well, you'd be right, but they have done more studies on whether or not this was causation and not correlation. And what they found is that it's not correlation, it is causation. Studies show that TV can actually cause aggressive behavior. Interestingly, being aggressive as a child did not predict watching more violent TV as a teenager, suggesting that TV could be the cause rather than the consequence of aggressive behavior. However, later research by psychologists Douglas Gentile and Brad Bushman, among others, suggested that exposure to media violence is just one of several factors that can contribute to aggressive behavior. I got that from the APA. Other research has found that exposure to media violence can desensitize people to violence in the real world, and that for some people, watching violence in the media becomes enjoyable and does not result in the anxious arousal that would be expected from seeing such imagery. That's also from the APA. At this point, you may or may not agree with this, even though it's statistical, but personal experience doesn't have to line up with statistics. I know what you're thinking. Well, I don't know anyone who's done anything violent because of video games, or I love video games and I couldn't hurt a fly. And both of these things can be absolutely true. No one is saying that you're a crazy killer because you play Grand Theft Auto, especially because everyone knows that you don't do anything violent in Grand Theft Auto. Just kidding. But the fact isn't that everyone is violent because of these exposures. The fact is that statistics show that being exposed to violent entertainment can directly cause someone to show more sign of aggression in later years. You may not be convinced, or maybe you just don't want to believe that something you love so much can cause anything bad, but violence in entertainment directly correlates with violence in reality. Um, I've gone through that video games don't always make you evil. Um, it's not only correlation, which is one of the basic things that I thought, and I thought that it just showed that it was correlation, and you may or may not have seen this come into action. Um, but the point is that violent entertainment should be used in moderation and all in good fun, and we can make the world a safer place because of it. Thank you very much.